What's good, everybody, and welcome to the Classic Quest podcast over here, where we gonna be doing our Makaveli, the Don Killuminati, the 7-Day Theory album review. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I'm your lady friend Bonnie.
And yeah, so we gonna get up into it. Before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. Just wanted to let you know that this is the show where we go through albums track by track, giving thoughts and opinions on every song. But due to the nature of copyright law, we're not actually going to listen to the songs with you. We've already listened to the songs ahead of time. And, we're going to take a quick pause, listen along the way, and you're not going to hear the song with us. That's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
And then we'll just discuss it.
You can do the
after
same
the
thing,
fact.
too. Pull up the album and listen along with us when we're listening.
So for those of you on YouTube going, we're used to this already. It's because we're doing this live on Twitch right now, so you can come join the party on Sundays. Somewhere around 4 p.m. It seems to be the go live Eastern Standard, and you can join us at twitch.tv/behind that suit. Links in description, and you can just be there while the podcast is live. On top of that, I make music myself. Links in description for those that are here and checking it. You can definitely let me know what you think, and I got a little contest running, so you can participate in that if you were MC and you got some skills. And on top of that, if you support what we do, you can hit us up on the Patreon and show some love like that. As always, links in description. On that note, I think it's time for us to kind of get into it. And we do like to start off every single album review kind of contextualizing our familiarity with the artist, giving you a sense of like why we did this album and how we ended up getting to this point. So Bonnie, why don't you tell us your familiarity with Mr. Makaveli?
Well, I don't know him as Mr. Makaveli. I do know him as Tupac or Tupac Shakur. But I don't know. I mean, I have white people knowledge of maybe not. Okay, maybe not. Because, I mean, I'm sure there's white people that actually know more stuff about him than I do. And definitely. And I don't know. So for me, he's just sort of like been like a pop culture figure and not necessarily somebody that I really cared about. I don't know, not that I didn't really care about him, but like he just wasn't really like a big deal in my life. But California Love and like all like that kind of stuff that like played on like the radio, obviously I knew. But and we've covered some of his music already before on this channel. So that's pretty much my knowledge on him.
I mean, growing up, you just kind of knew Tupac was the greatest. It didn't really matter who you were, even if you didn't like hip hop in any kind of way. Yeah. You just knew you just knew Tupac was the greatest MC of all time. Now, I'm gonna be real with y'all. When we started our little adventure here, doing these podcasts, doing all of this stuff, I didn't really understand necessarily why Tupac was the person that he was, and this is definitely reflected in our second Tupac album review for, I think it's All Eyes on Me.
Mm-hmm. I think that was the second one.
The double disc one. We did that, and I kind of talked a little bit of smack that was a little silly because I came from a place of ignorance and I didn't understand the cultural significance of the artist that is Tupac and what he really represented and how he brought the energy to the table and showed the true complexity and landscape of the black experience, and the way he understood it and the way he applied that level of artistic journalism. And honestly, there's a lot I've come to appreciate even listening to this album now, just having done album reviews for years, and just Tupac's delivery that I never really understood before, where like you can see his theater background, which is something not a lot of rappers have.
Yeah.
I'm saying like straight up, like he went to the private school and whatnot and had that like theater background. He did all the movies. So being an actor actually does a lot for your ability to use your voice in a more dynamic and alive way. And I think that gave Tupac this brilliant edge in being able to just make all of these bars come to life and everything just feels so alive with it. So that's the kind of stuff I didn't really recognize back in the day. So if you do check our older Tupac reviews, just keep in mind that we have grown since that point. And technically, I think like the very first episode of the Classic Quest was also a Tupac review, but it was like the fucking first episode. So like, I don't know. you guys can roll with it. I know we did Me Against the World, and we did All Eyes on Me, and one of them was the first episode, and one of them was the one I did with your lady friend Bonnie, where
I think it was we did Me Against the World. I think.
Fair. So I know I've just done both of those albums, and I honestly, I would have to go back and listen again at this point to truly appreciate the grandeur of them, because I think I didn't understand it because I was way too caught up in what I thought was appropriate or what I thought made sense rather than trying to experience the emotional landscape that got put out. So I just wanted to acknowledge that coming into this album review. I mean, I avoided doing this particular album for a while because I was nervous for a while. Like, you know, after you say anything about Tupac, the comment section lets you know that you should not say things about Tupac that are inappropriate. I had to learn a lot. One of the biggest valuable resources for me, at least, was the Art of War documentary by by Bone Thugs, and seeing how they were explaining the manifestation of what the Art of War meant to them and what thugging meant to them, and it kind of added this bigger appreciation to it. Plus, the comment section was very helpful to contextualizing Tupac as well, because keep in mind that if y'all are leaving these giant scathing explanations, I'm reading them and, like, you know, learning from them. So feel free to scathe away at me if you feel the scathing is due or worthy here. I do talk a lot, though, so if you're worried about that, I'm going to talk a lot.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but,
like, I'm on the same page because, like, you know, like, I know that, you know, he's, like, you know, a huge deal for a lot of people, and, you know, a lot of people know a lot about him and, like, seem to, you know, especially, like, you know, older cats, like, they seem to obviously, you know, people who, like, lived at the same time as he did and, like, went through, you know, some of the same experiences that he's talking about and things like that. Obviously, like, that's going to touch home for them. But for me, like, he's not my favorite rapper, and I'm you know, I'm sorry to say that, but, like, you know, for me, he's not my cup of tea necessarily. But, like, I get it, like, and I get that he's, you know, I get that he's him, right? I get that he's, like, who he is and why he is, like, such a big deal.
I mean, to be clear by that, it's also to add in the activism that guy's life is. Like, it's when you start watching Tupac interviews, I think, not like there's TV appearances, the way he flipped off the cops after getting shot or the newspapers or whatever. It's just seeing how to the core this man lived, seeing how his values consistently aligned with the betterment of his community, raising awareness, seeing him use his intellect in the way that he did across the board. Basically, that guy is the activist and the hero in a lot of ways many people aspire to be. Like, you look at a guy like Killer Mike today, and I feel like very much in the same vein as what, like, Tupac was, you know, like, and a lot of people may never have even gone down that path for it. Like, you can feel that revolutionary spirit in it. And then once you do learn about stuff like the Black Panthers and things like that, you really feel this energy inside of him that, like, pours through his music in a way that I feel like without a true knowledge, it's sometimes hard to, like, understand the differences between, I guess, outside of even the sonic experience, but just in terms of what he's rapping about. There's things I didn't necessarily get until, like, later on.
But, like, you shouldn't also, like, I mean, this is my opinion, right? So, like, in my, like, you know, what I'm thinking is that I shouldn't have to have watched, like, movies and, you know, interviews and stuff about him in order to enjoy his music. Like, I should just be able to put on this thing, going in blank, and just...
But then if we just flip that a little bit, you're correct. But if the conversation, he's the greatest hip-hop artist of all time, to even have an opinion on that qualification, you kind of have to have the understanding of hip-hop. You have to look at the history. Like, when you listen to Tupac's flow and you realize how many people today, honestly, you can trace back to Tupac's flow, how, like, all of my favorite rappers listen to Tupac, right? Like, it's like when you start catching those connections, when you start looking at activism and the way he lived and the way he pushed it compared to other people in the context of history, in the context of what other people were doing at the time, just all of it. Then forget about I get the messaging. Even just if you don't understand the hood and the dynamics in there, it just kind of might sound away, which was kind of how I presented myself on the last one. I was right. That guy, and that was how I looked at it. So you're right a little bit in regards to it, but that is just excluding the sonic experience. Because when you get to the sonic side, I do have one complaint about Tupac, and we'll get into it through the album, and it was honestly the same complaint I had on the double disc. and I got to do it real quick. The features are like none of them are like really Tupac level, for the most part.
Yeah.
Like a couple kind of hold up pretty
and
well.
there's some of them that are kind of like, they're like really less good.
And like when you look at this track list, there's maybe 2 tracks without a feature on it, like really, and it's so feature heavy. And I feel like in a lot of ways, and this isn't a criticism of Tupac. In fact, even this is a fascinating thing. Like he was all about the Outlaws and trying to build up his peoples, and that was a big fucking squad. So he's just trying to give love to people. If you were around, like one of the engineers is like telling a story, just in case you don't stick around for that, where he's like, "Yo, Tupac just looked at me when he's like, you can sing." And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, cool. I need you to come sing these notes on the hook and come do it like this. And like, just Tupac was that kind of guy. Like, if you're ready and you were ready to go at the time, you know, you could be on a track. So on that front, from the community, from the giving your homies an opportunity to get a cut of that, like fucking master's money and all of that kind of shit, like it's really, really dope. And you guys may not agree with me on this part, because I can understand how, like, I'm not like trying to take away from the quality of the albums or anything like that. I just don't like all the Outlaws. I think a couple of the Outlaws sound really great next to Tupac, and the rest of the Outlaws sound like when you have those posse cuts where like the main guy sounds like amazing, and like the rest of them kind of sounds like, I think Flip Mode Squad is one of the only squads really where I think the whole posse sounds like fucking proper, and it doesn't really matter who they are. But Outlaws is certainly not one of those posses where I think that they like really all bring the same level of skill. So that's not a disrespect to Tupac. It's like, again, a compliment to him as a community guy, and it's like, to me, just kind of unfortunate that all of the peeps is there. Anyway, that's all that I had kind of going into this project, whatnot. What do you think about the title of it, and because we're just going to get into the track by track soon. So what do you think about the title and the cover?
So the title, I guess it's like a, you know, his theory on things, and so he's giving us his thoughts based off of, you know, the 7-day theory part. And on that Killuminati, like, it's obviously he's talking about the Illuminati and how he's, you know, there's also this kind of conspiracy kind of theory going on as well, because I think, you know, a lot of people think that you know, the Illuminati is involved in so many conspiracy theories, and I don't know, so I guess that kind of makes sense. And for the cover, for me, I found it a little bit weird. It's sort of like a picture in the middle, and it's of him being crucified, and there's this like little message below that says that it's not meant to be offensive to Jesus, which is interesting, like, you know, that he says that. And Jesus was not the only person crucified. Like, people were crucified all the time back then, so he could be doing it for that reason. But also it is sort of, you know, he is feeling a little bit like he's a martyr, and he's going to be sacrificed for the people in that sense, and for the greater good. And I suppose it's kind of ironic or sad that, you know, that he ended up getting killed, and you know, and also that he probably felt those pressures, and, you know, had like those haters and threats and things like that, and he obviously was kind of involved in a little bit of trouble. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about that. It's okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to say that the cover, to me at least, has like a lot more to discuss, just because it's such a fascinating, and there's stuff to it. So the Don Killuminati part, Killuminati, it's like a combination of Illuminati and kill, alluding to a series of you know, conspiracies and whatnot that are probably going on. And as I understand it, at this point in his life, Pac was heavy into weed and conspiracy theories, and, you know, did believe that there were people out to kill him. Well, rightfully so, right? You do, after getting shot a bunch, have the right to be paranoid for the rest of your life and be skeptical, right? Because that makes total sense to me. There's nothing about that that's weird. And then I find even the Makaveli's fascinating, right? Because Machiavelli is such an interesting character. I mean, effectively everything like related to power, like let's say if you take like 48 Laws of Power, I call that book is like the really long version of Machiavelli's The Prince. So like in terms of the psychoanalytical perception of people and the way power is distributed, you know, like it's clear that like Pac was influenced in study, obviously reading Machiavelli. But another thing about Machiavelli that's fascinating was the part where he faked his own death. right? So because it's worth stating, and normally you do this, but Tupac died September 13th, 1996, and this album comes out November 5th, 1996, right?
Yeah, early. It was Suge Knight that put it out 4 months early. It was supposed to come out in March 1997.
Right. But I guess, you know, you're going to maybe capitalize on the buzz a little bit. And I don't mean that to be negative. I mean, it's kind of what it looks like to me. Often when labels do release the music so close to the death, it's to capitalize on the death, but also because all the fans are grieving, because you know that down the line, you'll never have that level of hype again. Maybe not in the case of Tupac. Tupac's really special in that regard, but for most artists. Rest in peace, though. I just to like throw it out like that.
Yeah.
So we have that whole skeptical thing. Makaveli's already tapped into it. You know, he's thinking he's going to die. So everything gets kind of weird. Then there's the 7-day theory part, which is not really clearly explained. Evidently, it's because he recorded the album in 7 days. And I say evidently because when I Googled that and looked into it, studio log, okay, so it was 7 days to completion, like 3 days of recording and 4 days of mixing and mastering is the theory behind it. But the studio logs show 12 days of recording. So, I mean, very impressive, okay? Nobody's trying to take away from the impressive nature of it. It may be that the 7-day theory part was a little fabricated to be a good like marketing tool as opposed to being the actual factuals. And again, I just found a few articles that came out in the late 2010s, like 2017, 18, and all of them gave dates that were more than 7 days for the length of time it took to record this album.
I just looked it up quickly, and it says that the reoccurrence of the numbers surrounding Tupac's death is called the 7-day theory. The theory states that Pac will return to us 7 years after he's left.
I was going to get to that because I remember in 2003.
Yeah.
I think it's 2003. I remember being in high school and everybody talking.
Waiting for him to just be like, I'm back.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember being at this like summer camp somewhere, and it was like a big conversation after, and we were all like, a bunch of people who were way too young to know anything about anything, debating whether or not Tupac was like hiding out in an island. And then there was all the tabloid sightings of Tupac over the years. And then everybody inevitably got to the point where, at least in my life, that if the man was going to make a public return, it would have happened at this point. But I think it's so fascinating, and that all of this, that there were people that believed for years. There were people that I know who believed that Tupac was still alive in like the 2000s, and even like way past 2003. There were people who, I'm sure there's still somebody out there that even watching this to this day that believes Tupac is still alive and waiting out there. That's all good. That's all fine. I don't have a lot more to comment on it, but I did like the disclaimer on the cover. I thought that was really fascinating. You don't see a lot of that, like just to have that level of self-awareness. Yeah. Because he
knew that people were going to be like, oh, and then he's like, no, it's not about that.
But he's already like taken on the government, right? Like one of those classic lines is Dolores Tucker's, "He's a motherfucker," you know, because she was the one that ended up being part of the group, I believe, that tried to shut down hip hop music.
Oh, okay.
Entirely. That's off of How Do You Want It?
Okay.
Banger tune if you don't know it. Anyway. And I like the part where the parental advisory thing's over his dick. I think that's just kind of clever. But I think in a lot of ways, Tupac was sacrificed for society. Yeah. I mean, gang violence and the pop culture side of it, if you look at the media, like they were really playing that up. I'm not talking about the rappers. I'm talking about the media. The way people were eating into it, like people weren't treating it like it was real life. This is my understanding. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, I'm sorry, and feel free to correct me. But I think that in a lot of ways, Tupac's death ended up being like a wake-up call, and then obviously Biggie following up a little bit later as to the like seriousness. And when I say like to people, I mean to people who weren't really surrounded by death, to a lot of the people outside looking in. Yeah. Anyway, that's...
But I think also, too, it's... I mean, he kind of touches on it, like, about kind of, like, white people, like, being, like, sort of, not the enemy, but, like, having issues with white people. And, you know, maybe also, like, they're the ones that are, you know, like, sacrificing him, and they don't want him, and they want him dead. And, you know, he's got, you know, he fears everything. He, you know, as a black man, as... he was friends with a lot of, you know, gang members and, you know, things like that. And I don't know. So obviously he's, yeah, he's feeling like he's gonna be sacrificed, I guess.
Fair enough. I think we can get into the track by track part now.
Sure.
And first one is called Bomb First, My Second Reply. All right, Bonnie. What do you think about the very first song on the very last Tupac album? Well, of the ones he recorded live and stuff.
So this one features Outlawz. I wanted to mention that as well. Or we're getting like all of like the kind of crew tracks, I guess. So it starts off with like a news reporter kind of like talking about like Tupac and like him releasing his new album, and that there's like this kind of conspiracy that like they're going to assassinate him, and like the they that I'm talking about are some of like New York City's like biggest rappers, who he calls out by name, like Jay-Z, Nas, Biggie, Mobb Deep, like all of those guys. And he's kind of like saying like it's all about being a man, and he's talking the truth, and everything he's saying is true. And then like you hear like a heartbeat, and it does sound like he's sort of like fearful and nervous about kind of like what's to come. He's just kind of like angry, and then you hear like gunshots, and like they're coming after him, they're trying to shoot him and kill him, and the Outlaws, they're basically like they're willing to die for him and protect him. He's trying to like be, and I don't know if he's trying to be or if he just is, a little bit scary and angry, and I don't know if he's like not trying like to be, but it's certainly like not really like, I don't know. I guess this is a beef, and I know people like people beefing, but I don't really like listening to it. But he's definitely coming off in like an attacking way, and I don't know if that's helping his case at all. In terms of like I think that like when we think about him and being like an activist and trying to like be like a peaceful guy, at the same time you're having like all of these.
That's it. But I would argue that that's not. He was never trying to be a peaceful guy. Being an activist and being a peaceful guy are not necessarily.
I know.
In fact,
yes.
The Black Panthers are not necessarily like I would argue peaceful in the respect of peace and love. They were often, if you come at me, I will defend myself with fervor.
Right.
And yes, there's a sense of militance, but keep in mind with it, he feels, at least, because there's no proof in this regard, that Puffy and Biggie set him up at a studio, and that these people that were his friends tried to kill him.
Right.
So in regards to this is like a caged animal lashing out and feeling the rage of having your friends and them turn on you, because it's not like random people.
No, I know.
He believes he's gonna die. He believes these people are gonna come at him. I've seen it where it's like when he got shot, the thing that blew his mind the most was that a black man could shoot him. Like that fucked him up so much, right? So I understand in the context of if Pac was out there trying to wave a peace flag and whatever, but no, he was going to war to defend his honor, to like stay alive, to like in that regard. And so I just wanted to throw that in, because I don't know about the help his case comment. I don't think that's what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to put raw emotional expression on the table. He woke up that day,
and he's obviously like pissed off, like you could hear it in his voice.
The rage and the pain of these people who came at him. And it's like, why did he need to reinvent himself as Makaveli? Like that's honestly like what I feel like coming out of that energy. Like he had to do this, you know? This isn't a choice. Like he feels like a gun to his head.
Literally, yeah. It definitely like that. It starts off like hard. Like this is like a pretty like kind of hard, aggressive sort of like beginning, and it's basically like a death threat in a sense. Like I don't know. Like I definitely comes across as like, hearing this without any context, it comes across a little bit petty and angry and whatever. But obviously, like when you think about what happened, like it's a little bit more serious than that, right? So, and he definitely talks about like being like a leader, but like, I don't know, so that's just what it is. And, yeah, anyways, and I know that like when I say like negative things about like Tupac, that like, you know, I'm going to like have haters,
But it's more.
but this is just my opinion.
But
Like
it's
I'm
like it's like I think it's more the difference, because I think I've come to understand a bit the difference between what pisses people off. To like say that Tupac isn't helping his case is a maybe a comment that'll trigger some people,
fair
because
enough. I mean, I get it.
is the lack of context, and in an album review it doesn't really even touch on the musical qualities, whereas in the sense of the song, it's a war song. They come in for you guys.
Yeah, and it definitely sounds like that. Like
and
it sounds.
If you think about the competitive arena of hip hop, where being the hardest on wax is important, it totally fits into everything else that anybody else is writing in that regard. Yeah. Where maybe it gets a little more specific is how he starts off his album with that introduction where he does name drop some people. I fucking love the Hawaii. After having seen the Hawaiian Sophie video, it just is funny every time somebody brings up Hawaiian Sophie for Jay-Z, because it's just such a corny video. Or, you know, he comes at Mobb Deep and Notorious B.I.G. in them, but it's also like Big Little whatever. I think that's Lil C's that he's talking about. But basically, I think this is just also, I'm not afraid to say your name.
Right.
This isn't no sneak, because so many people are into sneak disses.
That's fair.
And
yeah.
subtles and this and that. Like
He's
Tupac
direct.
is basically being like, I'm such a man. I'm not gonna like hide this shit. I'm gonna fucking come through. Plus, he says Nas's name. Nas said the only time he ever got brought up is on the last track on this album. Apparently, it's also on the intro of this album.
There we go.
Yeah, Nas felt like, apparently, because I might forget later on, that he was a little bit surprised and hurt that Tupac brought him into this. He was like, what? But apparently they were beefing. I don't know. According to Tupac, they were beefing. But it's also like, and this is shit where I'm speculating. At this point, though, it may be that Pac looked at anybody over there and
that was
said,
like associated.
even because, I mean, Mobb Deep, very clearly, yes, they did that whole fucking track back at them. Nas is from Queens, Mobb Deep is from Queens, may as well, you know? But Nas is also, anyway, we'll get to that later on, that he gets almost like a whole fucking verse dedicated to him later on this project, which I'd never heard before, and so I was so surprised to see it. But yeah, just under that point of view, I don't think people are going to get mad as long as we avoid saying things like, Pac should have done this or should not have done this, because we don't fucking know.
I think it was anybody that was associated. Hold on, just to go back to your last thing was just, I think it was anybody that was associated with Bad Boy Records. Like I think it was like that was Biggie's, label, right?
Yes.
So I think it was like just because of that.
But I mean, specifically, I know Mobb Deep, who's from Queens, took shots at Tupac specifically.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know I cut you off there, but
no, that was fine. Anyways, so I like this one. I mean, the Outlaws are good. I like Tupac's voice. I don't know. I mean, it was a fine one. You know, sort of like an angry, aggressive beginning. So you kind of assume that like this is going to be about like the feud between like the East Coast, West Coast rappers, and that he's going to show us that, you know, West Coast rules, basically. That's kind of like how it kind of starts off, I guess. So I give this one a 4.2 on 5.
I'm gonna state right at the jump, the production on this track is weird. It's really strange.
Yeah, some of them are a little bit
it's
weird.
Like a horror-y G-funk, but with a bunch of sounds that are arranged in a way unlike most of what I've heard. So it has this jarring, aggressive, almost offensive feel to the beat. Yeah. It's the kind of beat where I don't know if I like it yet. I would actually have to sit on this beat for weeks to have an idea if I even like it or not, because it's so out there and so unfamiliar. It's an interesting sound of production, and I think it's just worth pointing out that in a lot of cases on this album, the production is a huge influence on my grade, because as much as Pac brings everything to the table that he brings, there's still the beat. That's still part of the listening experience, and if the beat is not fire, and then this is not my favorite beat on the album. There are much better beats on this project, in my opinion. This is one of those strange ones where I think it stands out, and it's an aggressive sounding thing, but it is what it is. I'm also not the biggest fan of the posse, the friends that come in at the end. Young Noble, I think it is. Or Edie I mean, like, they just don't sound anywhere near as good against Tupac. Like, just look at the way he rhymes. Like, allow me to introduce first Makaveli to Don. Hysterical spiritual lyrics like the Holy Quran.
people get shook like 5-0. My 4-5 is next to me when we rob for survival. Like, to rhyme 5-0 with survival, I mean, it's not the hardest thing to do, but he does it smooth and flawless, right? He does it just so perfect. And the way he just rides and the way he articulates and enunciates every single syllable is fucking ridiculous. It's just fucking awesome. I don't know. I just feel like that's like the brilliance of Tupac. It's his ability to create this theatrical experience with his voice. So it's more than just a rapper rapping. It's almost like watching an actor bring a scene to life with his voice. Which is why when the production and the features are like less stellar, you're left with this sense of like you're glowing and you're riding on the Tupac train, and then all of a sudden we jump off the Tupac train and it's just like, oh, Outlawz train, not as fun. But I love the aggression. You just feel like you have this intro, but Tupac just kind of puts out his verse like it's a mission statement. We fucking are exposing the snakes. We are coming through. We are the real ones. We were forced into this like outworld. We are from the darkest shit, and we're gonna fucking take them down. That's just what I took from that verse. It's amazing. Specifically, he's a bad boy killer. Jay-Z died too, you know, looking out for Mobb Deep. He's coming for them. I mean, I could run through all the bars in this, and again, it's just this aggressive rage filled. It's not necessarily the intellectual wittyism. Granted, very well written, extremely well rhymed, but I think it's very blunt, very slap you in the face, cleverly composed, put together lyrics that like are rewarding to listen to over and over again. But let's be real, part of it is just the way he can carry a note, the way he sings almost to match it. Like his voice has such a melody to it where he's completely on key and just brings the perfect pitch to ride it through. The way he cuts all of his bars just a little bit early or whatever, just to create the perfect spacing within the pocket. Like it's such a finesse to the way he rhymes that I really love it so much. I like the idea. We're gonna bomb first. We're gonna lash out first because, you know, we have to almost. You know, we bomb first when we ride. Please reconsider before you die. We ain't even kind of hurt nobody tonight, but it's my life for your life, and I'm gonna bomb first. So, like, when you look at that chorus, you're like, this is a guy whose back's against the wall lashing out. I mean, we've been over that already. Idi Amin's all right. He just says the same stuff, but I feel like it's, like, his flow's all right. Like, everything about this is, he's a good rapper. But he's not the kind of rapper that has the kind of voice that is as, like, imprinting memorable. I listened to this whole project at least 3 or 4 times, and I could not tell the different Outlaws apart by the end by voice alone. Whereas Pac is identifiable after your first listen. There's just guys like that. They're just instantly identifiable for life after hearing their voice. So is Idi Amin talented? Yeah, he's a talented guy. It's just a bit of like a letdown after Pac. Like that's all I'm saying. Like it's fine. They're bad boy killers, and you know it's the same thing on like.
They just sound young, also.
I don't know. It's like every track where Pac brings them on, it felt like it was the same kind of feel, but it's all right. It fits thematically. They're on point, but they're all right. They're okay. I don't want to just sit there and say negative stuff. I like the chorus. I like the way it fits in. I like the way the whole track flows into, and then the beat kind of rides a little bit, and it gives you this great vibe, this great experience. It's totally dope. Honestly, I give it a 4.25. Had the Outlaws not been there and had I liked the beat more, this would have been knock it out the park because Pac's performance on that verse and that chorus is absolutely stellar. Yeah. And then the beginning of the next track actually starts at the end of this track, which shows that this album is probably meant to be listened to as an album.
Yeah.
I feel like people do that kind of stuff when like you kind of have to go to the end of the first song to get the true experience of listening to Hail Mary. Yep. What do you think of Hail Mary?
I don't know. It definitely has like a very nice like sound and backtrack. It just makes me think of like Bone Thugs and Harmony. And I know it should be the other way around, but that's life. I like this, like the slowness and like that sort of like ominous feeling. Like it, you know, it kind of gives you like that kind of dark, creepy, like, you know, like they're walking through like the hood, and I don't know, like there's something going on, right? And you know, and there's also like a church bell featured. Like I always like those like little like featured sounds. I appreciate them. His voice is just like really smooth. I like it a lot. Like it's just like it's nice. And it's just sort of like a ride or die type of story. Like, you know, just gotta like be with him or don't, and like that's it. Like he's, you know, it's all or nothing type situation. And you know, he's got like some of the Outlaws I think on this song again, and I don't know, I liked it. I like the tone. I like the vibe. It definitely is like a chill, creepy, sort of like gangster kind of a song. And I don't know. Cool. So I give this one a 4.5 on 5.
For real, this is one of the best rap songs I think I ever heard in my life as far as nostalgic memory goes. Like, this is one of those tracks where, I mean, when I hear Makaveli in this, Killuminati all through your body to blow is like a 12-gauge shotty, you just know it's going to be a good time. And I mean, it's a strange set of words to say with no context, but I mean, the beat kicks in, and then the way he just talks over that chorus, and that's something that Tupac is stellar at. Like, he has the chorus going, and then he's not enough with the chorus. Is this not one of the best choruses? Just that's what sells this. That come with me.
It is catchy.
Hail Mary, run quick, see what do we have here now? Do you want to ride or die? And then the la da da da. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And it just kind of like
Everybody loves
it
that.
eases out. It's haunting. He sings it just kind of melodically, softly. It's got this eeriness with it. It's just great. It's just awesome. And then just when he starts it, like who? I mean, you don't, but everybody I know knows I ain't a killer, but don't push me. Revenge is like the sweetest joy next to getting pussy. I mean, I know a lot of people where that's actually true, because let's be real, getting some ladies is a real good time. And then, you know, getting revenge is, you know, a satisfying experience with the same level of satisfaction that comes with something like sex. Or just the idea, like, I'm not a killer, but don't tempt me. Like, just in the first 2 lines, he manages to say, like, so much. And I think this track is where some of the most brilliance of Tupac's writing is just like, picture paragraphs unloaded, wise words being quoted, peep the weakness in the rap game and sowed it. Just like that, like using the language and the complex lexicon I bring to the table, I'm able to look at what they're doing wrong and create the perfectness. It just flows out through. And then the rest of this, it's like, you know, with a bit of a religious tone, like, bless me, please, Father, I'm a ghost in these killing fields. Hail Mary, catch me if I go. Anyway, so there's a bit of like a religious themes to it playing up on that.
Well, also like the church bells and like all of that. Yeah.
And then you got that, like, there's the dark tense, like there's something like chasing after him. So you get this atmosphere of needing to protect himself again that's followed through from the last track. It's not
And also
I'm
the cover.
lashing out. It's I've got to defend myself. But really, where I think this song truly shines, and some of the most powerful poetry that I've heard come out of almost anybody, is penitentiaries is packed with promise makers, never realized the precious time these is wasted, institutionalized. I live my life a product made to crumble, but too hardened for a smile, work too crazy to be humble. Yo, those 4 lines might eloquently paint the entire black people being sent to prison pipeline hood environment in the most beautiful sense of language, where like penitentiaries is packed with promise makers. That means that all the people that ended up going to jail, that are so vilified by the world, by that system that institutionalizes people, right? They were all just people that had promise and potential and were going to see a better world until this shit came through. And everybody's too hard to smile. They're too crazy to be humble because of the environment they're in. We ballin', catch me, Father, please, because I'm falling in the liquor store. And if you think about that, it's like you want to see you rise, but at the end of the day, you're still just in this corner liquor store, lost in this haze of alcohol, leading into this crazy shit. It's just a beautiful sense of things. I still like the way he goes, past the Hennessy, I hear you calling, can I get some more? Till I reach hell, I ain't scared. You know, like just the way he says it like that, like honestly, like he's drunk at this point and he's just trying to hype himself up to get into it. I'm not going to go into this much depth for the whole album because,
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. But I think Hail Mary is just a brilliant fucking song and really exemplifies the more theatrical and brilliant side of his composure. But then Castro comes on. They got an APB out of my thug family. Since Outlawz run these streets like these scandalous freaks. And man, that is just nowhere near the level of poetic beauty and grace that we got from Tupac, right? And it really hurts the song. It's not like it's bad. It's just fine. It's just okay. It's just good. It's a good verse. next to pure brilliance, you know?
Yep.
And then Young No Bullets too, like, you know, it's all right. It's a good verse, but there's nothing in there that's like so quotable that I'm like redefining perceptions. It's just all right. It just adds to the atmosphere of the track. But I think it's a bit of a negative. And then you get Gaddafi's part where I really actually like his little intro bit. Like if it's on, we breaks that part there. That's a decent part. I think that fitted because it felt like a bridge. And I do think that some of these bridges next to Tupac have like a certain feel to it that's pretty dope. And then, yeah, the Prince Ital Joe part's pretty good. I like him, the way he sings, because it's also coming at it with a bit more of a Caribbean flair. Yep. Which... I mean, I'm not getting that from Tupac right here, so that's a fair additive. But I feel like had Pac just rapped all the verses on this, it would have been gold. And I feel like in every song, for the most part, with Outlawz, had Pac done all of it, it would have been liquid gold. Because, yo, this track is otherwise artistic brilliance. And it's so weird for me to feel like I'm not giving this a 5, but the other features come on, and it is what it is. So 4.5, because I really do... really love everything else. The beat is just flawless. That is one of the best rap beats I've ever heard in my life. Not even gonna lie. Anyway, we can move it on to a sex jam a little bit. Let's toss it up, yo. Right, let's get the elephant out of the room. They heard No Diggity. Dre had just left the fucking Death Row Records, so there's a little bit of animosity there. So they jacked the No Diggity beat and basically wanted to diss Dre by outdoing his track. And so he got into Crew, he got in Casey and Jojo, he got in Danny Boy Steward, and Aaron Hall. You know, they came on, they R&B'd that shit up. Pac came through with his rapping. You could see what he did. But Blackstreet sent a cease and desist and were like, you can't really do that. You can't take our beat. Yep. So we got this version, which is almost like a remixed beat, but you can hear the No Diggity in this. Like, you can hear it. I like the way it can fit. Like you just hear it. Like I actually had to go check to see if Casey, Jojo, or anybody was in Blackstreet, because to be honest with you, I didn't know who was in Blackstreet, and I'm like, wait, is Casey and Jojo in Blackstreet? And then I found out all about the beef and the jacking of it all, because I don't know any of the people in Blackstreet, so it's certainly not Casey and Jojo. But I just thought that was amazing. I'm like, yo, that's a flex. That's a flex. That's like a jack your beat. I'm gonna rewrite your song, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it better. That's the goal of this one. But what do you think about it?
Yeah. And I mean, so it starts off with the intro part is sort of about like Suge Knight. Personally, rest in peace. But he wasn't always the greatest guy.
He's not dead.
Isn't he?
He's in jail.
Okay, never mind. I thought he had passed away. Or not passed away, but anyways.
His reputation has passed away.
Maybe. So anyways, he's not always the best guy. And about Snoop. So he's talking about Snoop and about Dre. And so obviously, there was some issues with them, and this is like a whole like you said, for Dr. Dre. I just found like this whole track kind of like random, and it definitely is supposed to be random. Like the vibe of like the chorus with like Jojo and Danny Boy, I feel like is so different from like the rest of the song, and then like mixed in with like the it's like a happier and sexier kind of a song, and yet at the same time it's still like a diss track. It just felt very disconnected for me.
I mean, it's fascinating you say that, because if you look at the construction, Tupac's first verse is very on theme. Yeah. Right? Like, he's going to get the girl, got you curious for thug passion. I picture that tongue kissing, handful of air, look in my eyes, time to make the bed rock. Baby, look how it rise. I like the way, I know I didn't do the melody rise, but the way he just does that line, the way he sings it, oof. That's the finesse of Tupac. This has very How Do You Want It vibes, if you were to ask me. Yeah. And How Do You Want It is one of the best fucking tracks ever. And then you get all the R&B shit, where I'll be honest with you, it sounds lovely. I just kind of zoned out and vibed to the beat. It reminded me of Blackstreet. It was all right. Yeah. There's nothing they said that was fine. But let's be real. I'm not gonna be throwing on a lot of R&B like this anyway, so I would have just glossed over it. But then when Pac comes back, it's straight fuck you, Dre, for like the whole fucking verse. And I agree with you. You're a little bit like, does this belong on this song?
Like, it's just kind of like a whole bunch of things kind of like a sandwich of like, let's just throw everything into it, you know? I don't know. And I like the use of like No Diggity because I like No Diggity, and you know, like I feel like the best part of the song is that. So thanks, Dre. Like it's kind of weird. Like it's like I guess it's sort of like
I guess thanks, Dre, for quitting Death Row, pissing off Tupac,
right?
Like, the song.
Like yeah, and you know it's smart in like the sense that he did this, but also kind of weird and like petty again. Like it just kind of comes across like that. So you know, personally, I like listening to people having fun, and he just kind of sounds like vengeful and pissed off. Like I don't know, it's very weird, but I don't know, it's not something that I would necessarily listen to. I would go and listen to Blackstreet way faster than I would listen to this one, but and I also find like the story is obviously like, unless you know what's going on, like, you know, it's kind of out of date. Like it's, you know, if you didn't know what was happening at that time, but so it's not necessarily in like the sense of like.
Let's be real though, the number of people that are gonna dig into the Don Killuminati deep cuts on the project, the non-hits, to like.
I'm just saying, like in terms of listenability, is the story still relevant? Not so much, but I get that he was pissed off at the time. We all get that. So, anyways, I give this one a 4.25.
I completely agree with you when you're going, this is two songs stuck together that kind of feel weird, and I agree with that because I mean I'm left with the feeling where the first verse that Pac gives is really great, but it's
not bad. It's just kind of disconnected.
It feels like a bit of a B-side to How Do You Want It. So I'd rather go listen to How Do You Want It. I like the beat more and everything, and I believe Casey and Jojo are on that one too. So I even have Casey and Jojo to vibe on that one with. Like I said, the middle part of this track, it's fine. It's just, again, not my cup of tea, that kind of stuff. I actually really like the Dr. Dre verse. I think it's a really strong verse. It's just that I've been listening to men serenade me about trying to get laid with my girl and stuff the whole way through here. And now we're, how do you want it? What's your phone number? I got around. Kali love to my truth does. Picture me now. Fair enough. And I like that he shouts out, how do you want it? Apparently, What's Your Phone Number is also a Tupac song. I Get Around's also a Tupac song. You know, these are all just kind of a bunch of his tracks. So it's a cool way to start it. I guess it's like showing this is my legacy. Right. Stood on for that death row sound, searching for paydays, no longer Dre Day. And I'm like, oh, okay. But really, it's the check your sexuality as fruity as this Alizé. So he's already bringing up the bisexual Dre rumors, which had come up very recently, I think, in one of our reviews. So
yeah, probably by me, because I think
because you bring
he's
it
gay.
Up. Or I also like when he's like screaming Compton, but you can't return. Ain't you heard? Brother's pissed because you switched and escaped to the burbs. And that's not the first one to say that. Other people have kind of made that kind of commentary about Dre as well, where like, you know, you kind of, I think it was like Ice Cube even brought that up, like, you know, like it's kind of what they did. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's not even my place to have an opinion on it. I do think it's fascinating that that's such a qualifying point that like Tupac brings it up here. Like, you can't come back to Compton even if you want to shout it out because they don't like you no more. And then it just kind of ends with Aaron Hall doing his thing while Tupac rants a little bit more, you know, and it's fine. I give it a 4.25. I think Pac's parts are brilliant, but again, it's like two songs and it's a fucking weird switch in the middle. And I would love to know what y'all thoughts are on this one, because this is one of those ones where, do you guys like this? Do you guys think, like, is there like a deeper thing? Is this like a, oh, Dre, you're such a woman, I gotta throw you on my sex song? Like, is that like the implied diss here? Maybe. Like, is it like that level of thing that's happening? I don't fully get it. That's okay. We could move on to what I think to be a truly wonderful track on this album, To Live and Die in L.A. I think where we can really, really, really like see Tupac shining is, and maybe I just misheard it, but if you listen to the line, better learn about the dress code, B's and C's, all them other copycats, D's is G's. And the way I heard him say it, it's like D's, as in the letter D, is G's, and just kind of keeping up on that like alphabet bar, but still also keeping the language, because what are B's and C's, Bloods and Crips, these are G's, you know, like, oh shit. And I just love the way he can do that with phonetics and play with it, the way he just spits every line. Like, there's a cool calmness to this because it's LA, So it's all cool like a cucumber in the delivery of every line. But there's also this heaviness to this track. Like,
Yeah.
this is the world that we're in. This is the thing, like full of drama, like a soap opera on the curb, watching the ghetto burn helicopters. I observe. And if we think about the police state, you know, that was happening there with all of the actual things like
The
helicopters
war on drugs and everything.
all of that stuff that was going on back in the 90s, like it's kind of adds like a certain weight to hearing the lines and just picturing it. It's this beautiful, gorgeous place where everybody wants to go and everybody wants to be. But at the end of the day, you know, there's still also the part where it's complicated and like it's like everyone's trying to get rich and everyone's out there trying to hustle and everyone's out there trying to do their thing. And I think this song is just brilliant because it's so universal, right? It's one of those tracks where you can listen to it and it's not just like you're a gangbanger or whatever. It's got this universality to everybody who is struggling out there can relate to this song and within themselves find their own stuff, like, you know. And then everyone's got to live by that code, like, you know, cold hearted about it, got smoked by a friend, trying to floss on a blind to a broken man's dream, a hard lesson, court cases keep me guessing, plea bargaining an option now, so I'm stressing, cost me more to be free than a life in the pen. So it's like showing that the consequences of the environment and just also tying into his own story and how he ended up facing jail and how he ended up going through certain situations in his life that have him kind of reevaluating stuff. But then it's also the universality that almost anybody going through that kind of hard environment life can listen to that. And while it might be about Tupac and his experiences, he's written it in a way where it could be anybody's story. It's just kind of an airy, open letter almost. This is what it is to live and die in L.A. And I just think it's really, really brilliantly put together. I think the way he does it is great. The beat is just airy. That chorus just smacks it out the park. It's one of the more solid ones on this album. And there's no Outlawz. There's nobody else. It's just Tupac flossing by himself for the most part. I accept Val Young's contributions to the chorus because it's kind of like a backdrop on the chorus, a female singer. Fair enough, right? But the way he just sings it, and even just bringing it back, like remember K-Day, Weekends, Crenshaw, MLK. You know, I just really appreciate, like, just, you know, let's bring it back to when we were younger and the radios were playing these things and everyone was chilling around, or just, you know, chilling around. Where the weed at? You know, just the way you like said that line, just like, yo, I'm in the middle here of my story. Send that my way, you know. And then he shouts out all these people that were around him and all the people, and I don't know. This one is just so feel good. The music video is so corny. It's just Pac with all these girls. Like a couple of guys end up, but it's mostly Pac surrounded by women in cars everywhere he's going.
Yep.
Like he starts off selling some shit at the beginning and girls kidnap him and it's just goofy. But at the same time, you're left with the sense of like, honestly, the baby. His music videos gives me that sense that this is just a fun, goofy guy who just wants to bounce on some asses and have a fun time. Like you can just picture him playing the bongo drums on the asses or the titties. Anyway, I really, really appreciated this track. I think it is one of the best songs on this album. I give it a 5 on 5. It is just... Wow. It's also got like a summery, airy vibe to it, where I feel like in dark times you can throw this on, and while life is hard, this is almost like looking at the beauty within the darkness. So it's to live and to die in LA. Yep. And I think it really captures the essence really well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that. So it starts off with like an interview that we're hearing. Maybe they're talking up. This girl's kind of talking about like how, you know, maybe some of the things that Tupac, you know, has said is, you know, maybe causing more problems than, you know, and helping than he's helping, I guess. But you know, just kind of leaving it at that. And like this one, the beat is really nice. Like it's just so nice. Like, and it is really just sort of like talking about the realities of life. You know, especially as a black man in LA, and how wherever he goes, he's a target. And you know, whether it's gangs, whether it's the police, whether it's, you know, just a crazy person, like, you know, this is it. And you know, and it does kind of have that kind of like breezy sort of like summer feeling. And, you know, he's talking about how nice the weather in LA is and all of that. And that, you know, even though that there's all these problems that, you know, that are there, that he's facing, that he's a part of, that his community is a part of, there's no place that he would rather be. And this is definitely, like I said, you know, and like you said, sort of like a summer song, and I can just like kind of like imagine myself like driving around in like LA in the 90s, and like, you know, it's just being like a smooth car summer song. Like it just makes me feel that. Like, so I can really just appreciate that he's kind of like putting me in that mindset, and just like I'm like there, and I can really appreciate that. And he also mentions like the minorities, like the blacks and the Mexicans, and I think he kind of says that they are the ones that help make the city the way it is, and how vibrant and multicultural, and like how it is a part of things. And it was, you know, a part of Mexico initially, and the city is called the Angels in Spanish. Los Angeles, it's just the Angels. And so when you think about that, like I think he kind of touches on it a little bit in his song, but it's just like, you know, it's full of angels, and I think in that sense it is a place to die, and there is that kind of like haunting beauty that's there because it's full of angels, and like that sense, like, you know, that there are a lot of people who maybe died unnecessarily. So it's beautiful, and yet there is that sort of like pain and like darkness to it at the same time. So there's that. I also wanted to mention there's LA California Love Part Motherfucking 2 without gay ass Dre. So again, he's pissed off with Dre, and he isn't the only person that thinks that he might possibly be gay, which is totally fine. But he's saying it more as a diss, in that sense, you know, whatever. And you know, this probably is why Dre never came out. Like, he was just getting so much hate. Whether or not he is, I don't know. Maybe he never has to, right? So, and also this one feels a little bit like R&B inspired as well. I just wanted to like mention that, like that there is that sort of, he does kind of like, he comes across hard, and yet like, you know, there's definitely like different types of music that's in his music, and I think that that's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, it's a really great song, and it's a love song basically for LA, mixed in with a little bit of like hate for Dre. So I gave this one a 4.75 on 5.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which is called Blasphemy. So this one is definitely like more of an assault on religion, and kind of its role in the hood. And I thought that was super fascinating because each verse kind of takes on a different tone, right? So obviously it's the same stuff. Tupac's rapping is sincerely brilliant. This beat is, in my opinion, one of the stronger beats. Like, it's got that eerie sense, but it really fits the tone of it. So in the first verse, we kind of take a look a bit more at the environment, the people who are kind of where he's growing up in, you know, like my family tree consists of drug dealers, thugs, and killers struggling, knowing the hustle, screaming, fuck their feelings. I got advice from my father. All he told me is this: get off your ass if you plan to be rich. So basically, you're just from the jump in this place where everybody's desire is to be rich and do whatever they got to do, and everybody's kind of already involved in this maybe negative lifestyle, we can say. And again, it's all because of the environment, right, that they're in. And so this is what you grew up seeing, you know, and it just paints this picture. And now, you know, your dad's not there, so I got to try to remember these rules. And, you know, we're all outlaws. We're trying to figure out stuff on our own. And, you know, dear Lord, don't let me die tonight. I got words from my comrades. Listen and learn. Ain't nothing free. Get back what you earn. So you get this whole sense where, like, the prayer to God is just to stay alive, to try to make it through or whatever, right? And, like, because the environment is just so awful. Then in the second verse, we take a little bit more. Also, I really like the hook part, the part where Prince Ital Jojo shows up again. He's freaking brilliant. He really compliments Tupac's well. And then, you know, I like how he looks at heaven. Like, we probably in hell already. Our dumb asses not knowing. Everybody kissing ass to go to heaven ain't going. So it's just the idea, like, everyone who in this more superficial sense, because you must look around and see all these people who are trying to impress God and trying to do whatever they can to get into to heaven. You know, like, I don't know. It just felt really strong. Like, he starts really questioning stuff. Pull my soul, I'm fighting devil daily. Puss the media, be crucifying brother severely. Tell me I ain't God's son. Mama a virgin, we got evicted. Had to leave the burbs back in the ghetto doing wild shit. So it's almost like, you know, the world we're in is such a hell, and everyone's trying so hard to impress some shit. It's kind of fucked, and it just really plays up on that, and it continues down, and he's starting to think about stuff. People are getting shot, you know, coming back resurrected. It's just that raw shit. Check it, you know. So in your world, when people are actually dying, when you're seeing all this stuff actually going down, you know, you start questioning a lot of stuff differently. And then it flows into the third verse where the preacher want me buried. Why? Because they know he a liar. Have you ever seen a crackhead? That's eternal fire. That's a powerful fucking line. I don't care what anyone says. Just the addiction cycle. That's what hell is. That's an eternal fire.
Yep.
And then just the part where it's like, should we cry if they cry when we buried Malcolm X? Mama, tell me, am I wrong? Is God just another cop waiting to beat my ass if I don't go pop? Or just the part where it's like, people aren't going to fix it. They're never going to feed us all. It's just like, at the end of the day, calling bullshit on how this good Christian mindset that is like kind of there in the background and all of this is, look, what are they actually going to do? What are they actually going to do to fix it? What are they actually going to do to maybe get away with it? And it's just, I just was left with this sense of, what is God? What is religion in a place where it's all hell other than just another set of rules and shit? And it really, I felt, is like Pac's aggression there, and to me it was just so beautifully articulated and put in a way where it got me thinking a lot. I thought this was a really great track and really interesting as far as subject matter goes, like something really fresh on this project where it took away from, I mean, it's still in the main narrative of like where he's been tapped into, so it fits it, where like the environment is bad, life is complicated, etc. But here we have like the direct assault on like the way religion is portrayed and how it bases each. I don't know, you all heard it. I thought it was pretty done, but brilliant. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that like this one made sense in terms of like the the theme of the album. Looking at the cover, which some people might consider blasphemous in itself. Even though it's not meant to offend. Also, the words "blast for me" sound kind of like similar in like that sense, which inevitably would happen, unfortunately. And I don't know. There's a nice beat on this one. I thought it was like really cool. It was definitely given, or what he's talking about. It was given a lot of useful advice that he should have listened to, but like it wasn't necessarily like what they could have done. I agree with you. I really liked Prince Ital, Joe on the hook. I thought it was, really great, and I thought it definitely like worked with Tupac's sound. And I think it's more of like a song about, just like this biblical, like not biblical figure, but like this power that the church has over them, and like the being a person who's maybe he wants to be somebody that people write about, and like him being the biblical figure a little bit, and also sort of like the overall hardships that he and his community have had to deal with, and but sort of like the good things that happen to them, maybe afterwards, and just sort of like his heart is pure and he wants to get into heaven, and so I think he's also kind of having that like religious struggle. It's like he almost like wants to believe, but like he knows it's kind of like useless. Like I don't know, like I think he's having like some struggles with that. And like I think he's also trying to live by like his father's words, and I think that he's trying to do him right and like help him. And also like father in like this sense could also be like a little bit more in terms of like the father in church, so like a spiritual leader in that sense. So like for me, like I don't know, I thought it was cool, and I thought that like maybe like the father it could be both in like the sense that he's talking about, that his father was his spiritual father and like guided him and helped him out a lot. So I mean it's definitely like it's a good one about like the difficulties that he was facing, and that he doesn't necessarily trust religion and church, but he definitely puts faith into like the wisdom that he's been given and like what he's kind of been passed on. And he does have some pretty powerful parents, and not powerful, but powerful in like that, like I guess powerful is a good word. So I'm sure they had a lot of good advice to give, and like that was kind of like a cool thought on that. So anyways, I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm gonna give this one a 4.35 on 5.
It's all right. Next up, we do have Life of an Outlaw. So what do you think of the track Life of an Outlaw?
So people don't listen to him, or they don't listen to intelligent advice, I guess. And so people like who are in like the game or drug dealing or whatever get caught for doing stupid shit, and he's just kind of like you know, saying like this is kind of the life, unfortunately. Like, you know, this is like he knows how to live the life of an outlaw. He knows how to be an outlaw, and like his crew is the Outlaws, right? So and so he's also talking about the fact that like him and his crew are carrying guns, and they're tough, and they fight hard, and they will come at you, and like they will defend themselves. So it's just like that kind of like we're tough guys kind of song. For me, like the beat was fine. Like he has the Outlaws on this one. You know, same sort of thing. Some are better than others. And they are all kind of living hard thug lives, and this is like, you know, the song for the tough guys, I guess. So for me, like, this one was fine. Maybe not like the best message, but it was his reality, and you know, which I suppose is why like you know, if I don't know, like why so many people were like against rap, and people being rappers is like just the unfortunate reality that was painted in his songs, but it's his reality, and like it's not like rappers are going to become drug, you know, dealers or whatever. It's the fact that the drug dealers are becoming rappers, and I think like that's, they're just trying to like do anything to get out of the situation that they're in. I think that's just kind of what it is. So I give this one a 4.1 on 5.
I definitely think this track falls back onto that aggressive, the world's coming at us and we are just lashing back. You know, like there's a rage attached to this track, and I love it. I think Tupac dances on this beat with this fast, upbeat, punchy kind of flow where it's just, maybe not punchy, but he just hits it really erratically, and the rhythm structure is just put together where it's like, it's just fresh. Like you're halfway through the album and it feels like a fresh flow that we just haven't heard anything of the likes on this project so far. And I think that's also part of it. It's just, yo, if the victims can't stand the heat, then stay the fuck out the kitchen. Had these busters switching, looking at me itching. And I guess it's like, you know, don't compete if you're not able to deal with the game or the consequences of the rules. And this is just a consistent theme in like every genre of life. This isn't even limited to like hip hop or the worst circumstances out there. Whenever field you're in, the second you start doing well, people are going to look at you with a different eye. People who maybe aren't willing to put in the, because yo, Tupac put in work. Guy gets out of jail, runs straight to the studio and records an album in 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's putting in work, right? Like, we're not talking about an average human. I don't put in the level of work in my life that a guy like Tupac put in, and it shows in the results that I have in my life, you know? So it sounds like not only does he put in the work, but he lives in the honorable way, and he just does all the things, whereas other people try to cut corners and other people do stuff. So I heard this, and I felt like he looks around at the people trying to do things wrong, and they basically fuck up the game, you know? And then as a result of other people fucking up the game, it's almost like people flip that around back on Tupac and his people because of stereotypes of people who don't fully understand the situation. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was fascinating. I don't know. Sorry, I'm going to keep going. I like the way he starts off in the second verse, and it's just like fucking insanity. Like, code 3, attack formation, pull out your pistols, keep an eye out for the devils because they itching to get you, which is a dope line because devils could be like the honkies, the white folk out there who are, I wonder if honkies is one of those words that'll get you banned on Twitch. But it's basically the white folk out there who are laying out their traps to kind of, you know, manipulate the situation, but also just the people who are less honorable in your midst, the snakes and all of that. So it's freaking great, you know, merciless madman screaming kamikaze in tongue, automatic gunfire, making all my enemies run. And just the way he fucking spits that, it's just so powerful. Like, you just feel like his lyrics are like this automatic spray of bullets firing out rage and aggression at everybody. And through his poetry, he does live up and embody everything he puts down on this. So whether or not it's literal guns or metaphorical lyrical bullets, we're in this situation where Tupac is here just laying it all out. And then the Outlaws come in, and it's cool. Young Noble's fine. I feel like they sounded better on this one. Like, everybody really sounded a lot stronger on this track. And I have to give extra credit to Castro, who I think just sounded fire. I think Castro came through with his flow. It isn't necessarily his bars, but his flow is like pristine and fucking excellent. Again, though, when it comes down to the poetic beauty of the language that comes through, not all of the Outlaws are at that level. I like Napoleon's verse. I'll say that vultures and parasite snakes are all alike. Thug with life break night. I thought that was cool because it's little like looking at just the different threats in your environment and you're just kind of adding it in. But at the same time, none of that's all that original, right? It's not like to the same level of beauty. Like just like, again, listen to how Pac puts this. Code 3, attack formation, pull out your pistols, keep an eye out for the devils because they're itching to get you. Merciless madman screaming like, that's just like a brilliant array of language put together where like nobody else is writing poetry like this in the same way that it's being done.
You can tell he's an intelligent guy. Like, he knows, he's well read, he knows what's up, he knows Shakespeare and stuff like that, like,
But yeah, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at with this one. So the beat's alright. It's not one of my favorites, it's just well done. So I'm left again with this point where had it just been Pac, it would have been next level. But then it also probably, the title would have been less apt because obviously it's featuring Outlawz. Anyway, let's talk about a strange-ass sex song, in my opinion. Just Like Daddy. This has the most creepy, predatory first verse of anything I was expecting to hear on this album. I actually got caught really off guard, and I'm like, this is going to be one of those rants where somebody's going to be like, you talk too much and got caught up on it. But Idi Amin's verse is whack. Alright, so this is obviously like the sex song, and it's meant to be for the ladies, and I'll do you just like daddy, because listen, some people that call me daddy thing is hot. Some people that call me daddy thing is not hot. It's not really my place to comment on that fetish, because whatever, I'm okay with it. I'm getting old enough that it's sexy as fuck. That's all I'm trying to say. But let's look at this verse, and we're actually going to take some time to look at the language. I met her when she was younger. I'm like, oh, that's a weird. Real daddy died when she was younger. Oh, that's not a good start, right? Fair enough. So he met this girl who was younger, not specified age, but younger. Her mom's let her do what she pleased and no one loved her. This kind of sounded like a teenager. Her eyes shined a love to diving in the rough, the kind that you could love, not yet touch. I'm like, that really sounds like a very underage girl that he's
like a
eyeballing.
young teenager.
Like he's eyeballing her. With so much potential, youngster, let me guide your mental. Ooh, this just kind of sounds like...
It makes me think like 12, 13.
Like, isn't this literally what grooming is? Youngster, to a place where there's sourness of pain you'll never taste. By God's grace, he was born with that face, nothing but pure beauty. So for an eternity, I feel like it's my duty. Anyway, the rest of the verse isn't so bad, I guess, in the context of what he's saying. It's just that he's saying all of these things to a young girl. I'm going to go with like under the age of 16 or maybe under the age of 18. And he's basically saying, listen, when you old enough, call me daddy. And that, I don't know how
But like also
is.
Knowing that like she doesn't have a daddy. And so like he's kind of like preying on that a little bit.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
This sounds like grooming.
Yeah.
It is literally one of the weirdest and creepiest verses I have actually come across since we've done this thing, because this is sincere and this is part of like a classic album, right? Like this is that, like, is this a cool cultural norm?
And this is very influential, so there's also that.
It's not like the rest of the verses are fine. Pac's verse is dope. Ride or die girl, I went to jail, she stayed with me, Bonnie and Clyde type shit, she hardcore, blah blah blah, all good. When I'm dirt broke and fucked up, you still love me. Yep. Like, he's clearly talking to an adult woman, which is fine, and I'm like okay with that. Then when you think about the fact that I'll do you just like daddy, and like we're talking about that first verse where you just left with the impression of dudes going after an underage girl, it's like I can't get that out of my head the rest of the song. And I wonder if like people back in like 96 were like, yo, that's hard. Like that's just a hard Pac song or whatever. Like I don't know what the reactions were, but like is that normal to people? And y'all watching this, whether it's on the Twitch and the live right now or whether it's on the YouTube after, this is one where I sincerely don't know. But my 2020 vision is going, that's some whack sauce. Yaki Gaddafi's fine. I don't think he has anything else there. It's just a normal sweet verse. It's just fine, like, and the rest of them, and Young Nobles is too, like, I'm gonna be there for you, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna have sex with you and make it all lovely.
Aw, isn't that nice? He's gonna have sex with you? Aww.
All of that is totally fine. For me, the part that I had trouble with was that first verse, and I don't know that I can get past it. I don't know. It was really hard for me too. But like, yo, Pac's verse again has that "how do you want it" kind of energy. Everything's proper with it, but it was just, I don't know. I give it a 4, because I don't know if it's just me looking back with my eyes at today or whatnot. In theory, the rest of the song's fine. I'm not the target for this. They're not trying to seduce me with this track. This was absolutely for the ladies. On top of all of that, but I don't know. As a lady,
The young ladies.
how do you feel about this one?
Like this one is just, it's smoother, it's calmer. I don't know. It is what it is. I think he's also trying to like listen to like the things that his father again taught him, and like, trying to like be like respectful and like make him proud. And Pac's also kind of like talking about like, that he's thankful that he has his lady, I guess, and like, wants to do her proud and thanks her for like dealing with him. Like that's kind of what I took from this. I don't know. I mean, I found like the topic a little like disconnected on some verses, like kind of like what you were saying, but I liked Pac's flow. I thought his voice was nice on this one. I gave this one a 4.2 on 5.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the outro is kind of long.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it is.
A lot of his songs are around like the 5-minute mark, so they're a little bit longer than some other
I don't think
rappers.
they were long for the era, if we want to just touch on that for a second, because this is something I noticed straight away. I'm like, because currently we're in the era of kill the third verse. All songs are like 3.5 or less minutes now, 2-verse experiences. And I think in this time, right, like people weren't able to just whip out music quick, right? Like your album is probably finished and there's 6 months goes by before it's even coming out, just to deal with the pressings and all of the things like that. So
Right.
with the fact that you might not have another album coming out for at least a year, having 12 5-minute songs to kind of sink your teeth into feels like a very appropriate thing. Feels like in the landscape of music consumption, putting that album in your car, all of these different things, like it just feels different than our spoiled ass Spotify era.
Could be.
Where everything's so curated differently and we have no attention spans anymore. And I think about that kind of stuff a lot, because personally, a good 5-minute song is brilliant. And in a lot of cases these days, there's a lot of great tracks that are just like 3 minutes, and you're like, come on, give me that last verse, and it never comes, and we
But
just
like, I
moved
think
on.
that there's, in like that sense, there's both ways. Like, sometimes you want it to be longer. Like you're like, just give me one more verse. And then sometimes like if a song feels long, then it's too long.
That's fair. There is 1980s 6-minute hip hop cuts with like 1 minute break beats.
And
in
like
the
you
middle.
can have a 6-minute song or whatever, and like that's fine. But like if I don't notice that it's 6 minutes, then you've done your job. Like it needs to be great. Like it makes me be like, wow, that was something to listen to. Like
I do admit sometimes for me, a lot of times I feel like they do the stretching is in the outro, where like the song should have ended at 4 minutes and then there's like 45 seconds of intro.
Yeah.
And again, all y'all watching can always let us know what you think about any of this, but I think we can move on then to the next track on his project, which is called Krazy with a K. All right, so what do you think of the track Krazy?
So for a song called Krazy, it's pretty tame. It's definitely slow and has like a nice flow to it, and just kind of talking about how life can be crazy. He gives his thanks to his mother, and like the chorus is like super catchy and like a really slow way. There's something about like the, I don't know, like I can't do it, but like there's something that in the beat like that's happening on the chorus, and like it all just like comes together so nicely. And like, so like I think that's really great. We've got Badass or Badass, because it's Bad AZZ, talking about sort of like the drug epidemic, and that he's kind of like seeing just like what's going on and like how many people are addicted.
Well, it's
and
money he's talking about. Hold on, because money's like a strong prescription drug. It's got me addicted to the pleasure and pain. So money is the
he's
thing.
talking about money. Okay.
And something about the paper with pictures of the president's heads, money. Damn, it's like a motherfucking plague that spread.
I suppose, yeah.
It's the lust for money, the root of all evil, spreading throughout the community, putting a plague, because a lot of the desires for money is making people go crazy.
But I think a lot of the reason, like why some people were, wanted to have more money was, to get away from like the bad environment that they were in. But I think a lot of them I don't know. Maybe might have been using it to just get drugs, right? Like, you know, they needed that. So I think it's kind of like maybe both. I don't know, but
I
like
feel like his verse.
okay. If you're
is
saying it's about
straight
money,
up
then that makes more
about
sense. I might
money
have missed that.
and how money is like an epidemic. And you know what? There's probably drug dealing related to
Yeah.
how people end up in jail in their quest for making money.
Yeah.
But nah, his verse to me is just straight up like life is
Okay.
complicated and money possesses us.
And I agree. I
But-
mean, like it is what was kind of like going on.
His last line though, a million things run through my mind. You ain't gotta be in jail to be doing time. Yo, that's proper. I have to argue that of all the features on this album, Badass is the only rapper to stand
And
up next to Pac and actually like sound proper next to Pac.
And I think I read quickly somewhere, I don't even know where I read it, that it wasn't even supposed to be Badass that was on this one. It was supposed to be this guy Krazy that was supposed to be, and he just like wasn't there. And so he was like, screw it, whatever. Like Badass is here, let's just do it with him. And like it just kind of became like a really great song. And like I think at first it was kind of lackluster. And then I think I'm guessing Suge made it, you know, did his magic and made it like what it is now. So I think it was really great. I think he just kind of like, talking about how messed up life is and how, I mean, I thought it was drugs, but different, you know, how money can drive you crazy and kind of like be like this like unattainable thing that you just can't get enough of. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of like this like struggle and sad life kind of song, but has like a good message in it, and like it just has like a really great like hook in it. So I give this one a 4.6 on 5.
What I had read is that none of the Outlaws were ready with their verses. So Badass had a verse ready, and so Pac just brought him in and said, "You're on the track now." And I like that. Pac is like, step up or get the fuck out. And I kind of like that ethic, because so many times in life we lower the barrier of success to allow more people to have access rather than expect people to catch up and achieve. And I don't know, I feel like if you're going to be on a Tupac song, you better be willing to work as fast as the man expects you to work. But this one seems to be like Pac is in jail, is the kind of tone I took from his verses. Like, last year was a hard one, life goes on, hold my head against the wall, learning right from wrong, etc. But if you look at it, like, you know, I came a long way, but I still got so far to go. Because he's looking, dear mama, don't worry, I'm a watch for snakes. Tell Setra that I love her, but it's hard today. I got the letter that she sent me and I cried for weeks. That's what came out when I tried to speak. So I just picture him kind of like sitting there, remembering times when he was free, or even if it's like after the fact he's out and he's thinking back on being in jail at that time.
I think he's also appreciating like his freedom.
But it has like that like sorrow in it, you know. And then time goes by, puffing on la, hoping that it's just got like this cool, calm, like pensive tone. And then it's just like as the world passes you and the crazy variables hit you, you're just going crazy. So all you can do is smoke that blunt and do what you can do to try to maintain a semblance of normalcy. And then I feel like the second verse kind of takes it a bit bigger and looks at the hood and the more people, you know, just looking at the environment and, you know, looking at the mothers losing their sons and situations like that. Sorry if I'm getting it a little bit off, but I really enjoyed that. Or maybe it's about him and he's still apologizing to his mother. I may have got that a little bit mixed up. Still, he wants to do better. He wants to see good. And then when you have that third verse from Badass, which ties it all back in with the money situation, I thought that was really good too. I thought that really just kind of added some context to kind of how people end up in these situations where they end up in jail. And I thought it was a really complete song. I thought it was really strong. I thought it was really interesting that he says 3-day theory, Killuminati to your body. And so you get the sense that at that point, at least, I guess they thought it was going to be done in 3 days. It took a little longer.
Right.
But I like the way this one has that longer outro. This one, it sounds really nice. The way he just kind of one time for my in the jail cell and just kind of repeats it out there and shouts out stuff. And I just feel like, you know what? The way he's giving love like that, it just completes the track in a really nice way. That's all I got to say about that one. And I guess then we can move on to another fascinating track called White Man's World. What do you think about this one?
So this one is still pretty relevant. This one is called White Man's World. And he's kind of talking about what it is, right? So he starts off and he's saying like, you know, use your head instead of your fist, because that's kind of like what like the black man wants in order to keep you down. If you're violent, if you attack back, if you know, in like a bad way, if you or whatever, like white guys will like shut you down, lock you up, do whatever they have to do just to get rid of you, because they are just waiting for anything just to get rid of you. And so that's just kind of what it's about, right? And the first verse is for his sister, and I think he's also talking about his like fellow like black sisters, and like, you know, he's sorry for hurting her, and you know, for hurting anybody that, you know, any like lady that he has hurt in his life. And he's just kind of saying like, you know, like be proud to be black, you know, be, you know, walk tall, like, you know, he's also talking about like, you know, being those that have less than others. Like, why are they poor? Why do you know, why is he poor? He's kind of like reflecting back on his life, and you know, when he was a kid, he was like, well, why don't I have the, you know, the same things other people have? And you know, why do people call me this word, this, you know, the N-word? And you know, like he doesn't understand, you know, and just like, why, you know, do people hate him just because of who he is, a black man, and just because of his color and what he looks like and things like that? And so, you know, these are all really important questions that, you know, unfortunately, like people are still asking themselves. And, you know, for children, you know, to like ask these types of questions, it's pretty like eye-opening, and you're like, whoa, like that's kind of like wild that that's something that is a reality, you know, and like that kind of like, when that starts, like what age does that start, where people, you know, stop treating you as a cute little kid and treating you like a criminal? Like, you know, like it's like a sort of like puberty. It's like, oh, now you're just gonna be a criminal now, and like it's just kind of like that kind of mentality. And you know, it definitely sounds like he was talking about like his time in jail, and kind of like that he reflected a lot and he grew, and you know, he definitely spent a lot of time sort of with himself and dealing with himself, and kind of probably thinking about things that he was using, you know, drugs or distractions or whatever to keep him from thinking about these types of things. So when you're stuck there and you sit there, then you're going to think about these types of things. And then like, you know, some of the lines, like, every woman in America, especially black, bear with me. Can't you see that we under attack? I never meant to cause drama to my sister and my mama. I hope we make it to better times in this white man's world. So, you know, just dealing with like the issues and the racism that they were all facing, and just kind of like that, you know, they are under attack essentially. And, you know, again, same sort of thing that we're still unfortunately seeing today. And hopefully, you know, the Black Lives Movement will, you know, Black Lives Matter movement will help make a difference, and will really like have an impact on things. So it's interesting to see that, you know, this is an ongoing thing, that this just has been going on since white people brought black people to this land, I suppose, and probably before. But anyways, and it's interesting, there's like Minister Farrakhan's like kind of speeches mixed in at the end. Anyways, it's a super strong message, and it's pretty powerful, and like it's just sort of like him reflecting on himself and his community and kind of what's all going on. So I give this one a 4.6 on 5.
Yeah, I think this track is very strong and very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It hits on a lot of the systemic issues, but it feels almost like an apology to black women
mm-hmm.
for the pain
like
that they have to
behavior.
go through. Because, but not just his behavior, but I feel like him and black men in general.
That's fair.
Like an apology to everyone. Like, we act this way in this white man's world. It causes you this pain, but you are suffering like almost twice as bad as like I'm suffering, was kind of
mm-hmm.
the tone I took from it, which I thought was really like strong. Like, that's just how he starts it. And it also starts with a quote from the Malcolm X movie. You go busting your fist against a stone wall. You're not using your brain. That's what the white man wants you to do. Look at you. What makes you ashamed of being black? And that's an interesting like quote, right?
Yeah.
Because it does touch on the fact that there does appear to be, if you look for it, a very constant effort from white powerful forces to keep black men fighting each other. And even if I look at it anecdotally, I see it in my Facebooks and my timelines. People love to quote statistics like, yeah, but black on black crime. Like it's almost cool to bring up that stuff. So we can see like the way that some of my white brethren will go out there and point to that stuff as a quick way to invalidate other people's stuff is just like, you know, the semblance, like this is the trickle down effect of all of this just in real life in 2020 still happening today, which I do think adds on to it. And the more I've learned about, I guess, the Jim Crows and all the different things that tie into it, this song kind of has that extra level of resonation. But what I find fascinating is just the tone he takes on it, like being pensive, almost apologetic to it. Like that first verse really just smacks. Like, apologies to my true sisters, far from bitches, help me raise my black nation, reparations are due is true. And if you look at that, like you have him who's called women bitches, but also how everybody in the women just deserve to be lifted up by all of society. But on top of that, there's still the black folk that deserve some level of reparations and to be lifted up just from the government level of system and all of that. I just think it's deep. It hits on all these different levels. And then as the song progresses and we start looking at the death in the streets and the different emotional complexes, how somebody took that person's life that he's describing, you know, as a person who got shot to death and they're passing the casket, somebody like took that life, somebody else had to go through all this. But at the end of the day, it's alluded to, this is the result of black men killing each other, and this is problematic, you know?
Yeah.
And then in that last verse, you know, tell me why you changed to choose a new direction in the blink of an eye. My time away just made perfection. Did you think I'd die? Not going to cry. Why should I care? Like we holding on to lost love that's no longer there. Can you please help me? And it's just interesting. Like if you're like, now he's talking to God, like he's turned his head up and he's almost praying like, why'd you abandon me? Or maybe he's looking at the world and, you know, they thought he was going to go away. This is dealing with the complexes of being shot, of going to jail, of feeling abandoned and all of that, down to him just crying out, God bless me. Please keep my seeds healthy, making all my enemies bleed while my G's wealthy. It's just like, man, the confused emotional state that must have been going on inside of Tupac's mind is something that's just truly powerful. But
well, you have to imagine he was in jail and, you know, you know, like everything that was going on. And, you know, when he was in jail, he probably looked around and was like, okay, well, what's the majority of the people look like that's in jail with me? And why are they in jail? And what happened? And, you know, everything else. So...
And then you just, like, you have this little chorus, who knows what tomorrow brings in this world where everyone's blind, and where to go no matter how far I'll find to let you know that you're not alone. So you also feel that universality again in this. Like, he's using his story and his experiences and his anxieties to relay this bigger sense of what his community's going through. And I think he does that super effectively here. I'm going to give this one a 4.5 because I enjoyed it. It's not to the same level of sonic enjoyment as the 5-on-5 ones, but it's really well. I could tell that was Minister Louis Farrakhan just by listening. I've reached the point where, especially after the Busta Rhymes album, his voice is fresh on my mind, but Kirino also likes him, and a lot of people listen to... It's funny, is a lot of people I know will fucking hate on Minister Farrakhan, but big ups a bunch of rappers who are inspired by him. And that's something I find really interesting.
Yep.
Anyway, the next track is a clever one. It's called Me and My Girlfriend. So this track is very clever in the sense that it's a bit of a little dissy poo. More of a sneaky dissy poo than a more direct one, but that's alright. Tupac, and this is alleged, this is what I saw on the internet after the fact. But Me and My Girlfriend is the name of a certain Biggie track. So, you know, taking the Biggie song and redoing it. But also, he heard that Nas did a song from the perception of a gun. So he came and did his own track from the perception of a gun.
Yep.
And I'm like, yo, Pac is petty. But it's not like a bad petty. It's like a very humanistic petty. Like, in the sense of like a great competitor. Like, oh, you think you're the best? I'll show you what the best is. And then he ones-ups you kind of thing. Now, I don't know that this is better than I Gave You Power. They're very different tracks in my opinion. But it's hard to actually say which one is a better song to me. They're both really freaking brilliant. But what do you think of this track?
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of like what it is. It's like the girlfriend in the song refers to his gun and how she is his ride or die and like always by his side and like, you know, like on his hip maybe or whatever, and then she gets mad and like shoots and like wants to kill. So it's sort of like the gun is like personified and has like the same intentions as Pac, and like they're both kind of like yeah, die, 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 and like in terms of like what he's thinking and like what the gun is thinking are the same thing. And like the end of like verse 2 I found was kind of interesting. So it says like, picked you up when I was 9. So that's kind of wild to like, first hold a gun.
Picked you up when you was 9.
When you was 9, okay.
Because you was at 9.
A 9, yeah. And started out my life of crime with you. Bought some shells when you turned 22. So 222.
Well, it's because the 9 and a 22
are both guns.
Bullet
yes.
calibers.
Yeah. And it's true. Nothing compares to the satisfaction that I feel when we out mashing me and my girlfriend. So it's like the shooting guns gives him pleasure, and all he needs in life is his girlfriend, aka his gun. And like on like verse 4, I'm like, it's sort of like a line, like I love finger fucking you.
It's so good.
All of a sudden I'm hearing thunder. So I mean it kind of comes across
when you
like
bust a nut, people be ducking or taking numbers.
Yeah. So it kind of comes across like a little bit like wild or whatever, but like it makes sense in terms of like the fact that he is pulling the trigger and going boom like thunder. So he's like what you were saying, like people are like ducking and hiding and like because they don't want to get shot. So it definitely sounds like really like, or like he sounds like very like deep and like kind of gruff on this one I found. But like it's a good one. It did feel a little bit long. It's again 5 minutes 8 seconds, but like the story kind of worked as well. Yeah, I mean it has a really good flow and beat, but like you have to like really like kind of pay attention more to like the words and like what he's saying and like what it means to get it. So but I like it. I give this one a 4.5 on 5.
I thought this song was brilliant. I mean, unlike the Nas track where it personifies being the gun, Pac basically wrote a love song to his gun, and like every line kind of flows in this double entendre sense where it could be about a girlfriend, but it could also be about a gun. Like, our first date, couldn't wait to see you naked, touch you in every secret place. I could hardly wait to bust freely, get you red hot. You so happy to see me. Because technically, that's kind of how it would be with a gun. You want to get it like naked, get it all, inspect it, carefully look at everything else. You want to bust it, pull that trigger, make it go off. And I think it's just clever. Like, baby 45, but she's still alive. Because, 45 is another caliber type. One shot, make a heartbeat stop. And that's clever, right? Because that's what, like, you would typically say about like a girl, like one shot of that girl, it's so intense, she's like a drug, but in this case it's a bullet coming to get you. I liked when he's like young Pac in verse 3, he's like, I was too immature to understand your ways, inexperienced back in the days, caused so many arguments and strays. And that would be like, young people not understanding how to behave appropriately with the firearm and the kind of reckless damage, stray bullet, shit like that. But also just, I used to fuck other chicks. Like, it's just so well done, okay? Everything about this track is just perfect, in my opinion, as far as, like, making a beautiful double entendre song. It's something like, there's not, I think, that many songs that go line for line like this. Like Eminem's Darkness is a recent example of a track that line for line plays that double entendre-ness. Like, and not many people can pull that off. I couldn't do something that clever. That's some really, really smart shit right that. I really liked it. I give it a 5 on 5. I think it's beautiful. I think the outro, like the Lost in the World for in 96, Bonnie and Clyde, me and my girlfriend, doing 85 when we ride, trapped in this world, like it's just got like this whole energy to it. It's just like anthemic. I love the way Pac will just change his voice up and have multiple flows, multiple voices, like again flexing that charismatic drama skill that he brings to the table. This song is brilliant. Also, I think it's worth just taking a little look at the song order a little bit, right? Because you have Krazy, which is kind of looking at the world of all the crazy environments and all the shit that's bad that's happening, right? And then that flows into White Man's World. So you have Krazy, which shows the awful shit that's going on. White Man's World that starts to justify how you end up in this crazy environment due to systemic oppression and shit, and then it falls into Me and My Girlfriend. So you're kind of stuck with the only person you can trust being your gun, which after this whole album, which is showing that he doesn't trust people, he doesn't have great relationships, like everything's so fucking complicated, so many people are trying to turn on him, it just feels like adds that extra layer that the only person Pac can trust is his gun in this world that he's in, you know? I felt like it was one of the best tracks on this album, honestly. Yeah, it might be my favorite track on this album, straight up. Anyway, 2 more for us to still talk about, and I do think that the next one follows up in terms of that placement, because after that, after you're walking around with your gun, after all the complicated situations in the world, you need to hold your head. So yeah, this is the track I was talking about, where producer Hurt and Bad, who I think has the best production on this project. I forgot to mention that the Me and My Girlfriend production, which also has Hurt and Bad involved in it, and I'm going to say all the ones that had Hurt and Bad I think stand out. It's very instrumenty. The last one had a lot of guitar. This one has cool, it's like a violin or some other kind of weird sounding, not weird, but like kind of stringy instrument like that in it. And I like the use of strings. I like the bass. I think the production in the last few songs has felt really alive. And the ones that I find like in the beginning it moved, like it had a lot of eerie and aggressive sounds, and we've kind of moved into a more instrument driven, almost symphonic experience in the last couple, maybe not symphonic, but fuller, bigger, kind of really instrument driven instrumentals, I would say. And that's what I meant by symphonic. I know that there was symphonic is a very specific thing, okay? But what do you think about this song?
I mean, this one for me, like, it's definitely clear for me, like, that it's like a sort of like for the guys in prison, and starts off like that, and like you kind of hear like maybe like a correction officer you know, shouting out people and like their numbers, and you know, you can hear like Rikers Island and like different jails being mentioned, and kind of like the doors closing to the cells or whatever, and sort of just like sending like an overall message just to like to keep your head up, stay strong. And this is specifically about Black men that keep getting killed and keep getting locked up, and you know, just kind of about that being the issue. And again, sort of touching on like white man's world and kind of like the struggle of being a Black man, and like just having that target on your back for, you know, whether or not you've murdered someone or you did nothing. So it's, you know, it's all put on all Black men. Like, it's just kind of like this wild thing that was happening, was, and sometimes still is. So, and it definitely feels like life in a prison cell is almost like a destiny, like it's pre-written, like it's gonna happen for a lot of Black men, no matter what they do, no matter what they try to do to like evade it. And like he's just kind of hopeful that he wants like the next generation and then future generations to grow up without this kind of fear, and just kind of like that things need to change, and you know, never give up, and like it has to get better than this, like it's always, it can't get worse than this, like, you know, we have to do better. So I really like this message. I think that it really is like sympathetic, empathetic, you know, it's something that he's been through and something that he sees as his own reality, but also he realizes that this is happening around the world, across the country, across his city, like everywhere it's happening. And there's you know, this is sort of like hate that's just kind of given to them, like, you know, when they're born, and it's, you know, just sort of like, it sucks. And like, you know, like, so like I said, so he's sort of more like empathetic for like the people who are in jail and like who in prison, and how badly it sucks, and you know, how you want to give up, and how it almost seems like, you know, if you're given, you know, a crazy long sentence or a life sentence for something that, you know, maybe, you know, a white guy maybe wouldn't have got the same length, you know, it's sort of like, it does kind of suck, and like I can't even imagine what that feels like, and wanting to give up on life, and like all of that kind of, all of those types of thoughts. And so I think he's just trying to give them hope, and that, you know, that things were going to get better. And sort of, I can imagine that this is a really powerful song for a lot of people in the system, or people who have been in the system, or, you know, just something that, you know, people are struggling with. And, you know, he is touching, I think, like on like a huge thing that I think a lot of people weren't necessarily like, well, I suppose at the time people were saying it, but like, I think that it just another reminder that this is a reality for a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was really powerful. I gave this one a 4.75.
I like this one too. Like I said, I mean, following the last few tracks, it almost is like, it's like with the inevitability, you're almost forced to carry your gun. You're almost forced to be in this environment where things are complicated. And then jail is a reality with it, and this does feel like a bit of a commentary on jail.
Yeah.
Like a shout out to the people that are out there to keep their head up. And then again, that first verse kind of contextualizes the environment again, you know. I really like how it starts. I wake up early in the morning, mind state so military. Like, just I wake up ready for war because this is the world I'm in. Like, I'm ready to go from the second my eyes open, you know, and I wake up early. And that's interesting too, because a lot of people don't like waking up early, especially in the artist world.
But I think also like that could be like a thing going back to his time in jail. People don't get to sleep in, you know, like they're waking you up, they're banging on the bars, they're doing all that crazy shit at the crack of dawn, and you have to get to, you know, like there's like, you know, sort of like a pecking order. It's like you have to get to the shower before, you know, certain other people, or you have to get to like the cafeteria before other people, and like only certain things can be done, you know, like. Right. So anyways, that's just kind of what I was thinking.
And then suckers fantasizing pictures of a young brother buried. Wasn't me the weed or this life I lead. And I like that because it's like people wishing death on him, but at the same, or on his people, but at the same time, is it because of him? Is it because he's high? Is it like, you know, is he paranoid? Is it because he's high, he's in these environments? Like, there's like, you know, he gets you questioning shit. And again, you know, I like when he's like, tonight we honor the dead, those who won't be back. So if I die, do the same for me. Shed no tears. An outlaw thug living in this game for years. You know, like, why worry? Hope to God get me high when I'm buried. You know, like, that's an interesting line, right? Because getting him high in that context would be like going to heaven. You know, it's cool the way he paints it.
Yeah.
So it's, again, the stress, you know, get your cash, stay strong. But then it was the second verse that I thought was super interesting. He's found these be like prophecies begging me to stop because these lawyers get money every time they knock us. And that line hit me because something that we don't often think about when discussing the legal system is the impact of courts and lawyers. And, you know, just imagine the criminal lawyer that defends rappers. Now, there's going to be honorable ones. But what about all the non-honorable ones, or the people who go after? So, you know, the guy who does have 5 figures, 6 figures to pay for a lawyer who then bleeds them, or the fact that everybody is kind of profiting, or so many people profit off of this whole system. And like, we just don't think a lot of that. I also liked when he's like, switch my name to Makaveli, half the rap game ghost, expose foes with my hocus pocus flows, they froze, now suckers idolize my chosen blows, and more money mean litigation, more player hating. So that's interesting because it's like he switched everything up. I mean, he switched his rap name, whatever. I guess that's saying he like changed his identity or his things, and now everybody's kind of treating him different. But it also feels like he changed things up, and now it comes with more white collar bullshit, like more actual need for lawyers and more other kind of stuff. So whatever that flows through, and I thought that was really cool the way you did that. And then the third verse, I feel like it kind of just follows through and it kind of reiterates some of the ideas we've already gotten on this. It's still beautifully done. It really completes the track, and I really enjoyed this song. To me, I'm giving it more of a 4.25. I do think that Mr. Hurt and Bad does an amazing job with the singing that he does on the chorus, and it was just a stroke of luck, according to him, that Pac asked him if he could just sing on a whim, and it just turned out he could, and I think he really does a beautiful job completing that chorus. But overall, I feel like the sound of the beat and stuff, I had a little bit of trouble getting into it because I feel like it's just surrounded by so many great tracks. So I gave it a 4.25, but I do think its message, its purpose, its placement on this album are all pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And I guess that leaves us with the last one on this album, which is called
The Odds.
Against All Odds.
Sorry.
All right, so what do you think of this one?
So this one is another one where he's kind of telling us the truth and calling out Nas for not being truthful in his rap lyrics. But Tupac is, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like it's not really cool to be shooting people, so I'd rather hear a fake story about someone like being like gangster and shooting people than actually a murderer. But I don't know, that's just my opinion. But like, this is, you know, he's kind of calling it out, so I don't know what Nas was up to and, you know, at that time and what he's actually talking about. I didn't really look that far into it. But anyways, it's just that sort of thing. He's just calling out all these other rappers, again, the same sort of like beef from the first song, and kind of like that's kind of flowed through, you know, calling out other rappers like Puff and Mobb Deep and Dre, and just, you know, the same old thing. You know, he's obviously pissed off with these guys. Like, they really hurt him bad, and they were people that that he did trust and worked with, and thought maybe were his peers or are his peers, and maybe like did him wrong or did him dirty or whatever. And so yeah, that's just kind of what he's talking about, and it's just sort of another song about him kind of calling out these guys for what they are in his opinion. And I really like the I really like his voice on this one. I just wasn't really like, I don't know, I feel like I've already heard this, but I get that he's like not concluding it, but he's finishing up, rounding up the whole album. And I do have to say, on this one, the production really stood out. I don't know if this is the same production that's kind of been throughout, but it is nice, it's clear, it's crisp.
Is hurt and bad.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's really good. I give props to the producer on this one. So I give this one a 4.2 on 5.
I feel like this one just starts off so strong, 21 guns, salute, one love, one thug, one nation, and then just the way he just goes from the chorus right into the verse, just like you don't even realize the verse is starting, but just 21 gun salute, dressed in fatigues, black jeans and boots. I just appeared in the crowd, all you seen was troops, and you're just like, okay, Tupac's busting out onto the scene, and then everyone's looking around, and then he just flips it. This little named Nas think he lived like me, talking about how he left the hospital, took 5 like me, you live in fantasies, I reject your deposit. And then that's in reference to Nas on The Message when he goes, heard shots and drops, son, caught a hot one, somebody take this biscuit for the cops come. Then they came asking my name, what the fuck, I got stitched up and went through, left the hospital that same night, what? Which is basically what happened to Pac at the Quad Studios. And then, at this time, I believe on the second Nas album, people were criticizing him for going gangster with it in that regards after having not been that. And that was the criticism of It Was Written that I remember seeing. That was done at the time. This isn't my criticism. This is me saying what other people said. Like, there are many people who made fun of Nas for taking on Pablo Escobar as, like, his, like, gangster image person. Like, not everyone was thrilled with that.
Right.
And as much as everybody, like the history of Nas, he drops Illmatic, which in 2020 we're all calling a classic, but it didn't necessarily sell that well, so he kind of went more pop and mainstream on the next project, which I guess Pac heard and took away, and then ended up right into this one. And then, we shook Dre punk ass. Now he out the closet. Boom, going at Dre, telling him that he's like fucking gay. Mob Deep, wonder why, blowed him out. Next time, grown folks talking, close your mouth. Like, don't get involved. And he just runs through, like fucking went at Puffy. He even went at De La Soul, who mocked Tupac's fucking in their music video. And apparently also attacking Q-Tip, who dissed him on the radio. So it's just like all these people there. Then he goes in deep on fucking Haitian Jack, who apparently snitched out some shit, and because something happened, and then he didn't go to jail. So he's just like, yo, knew he was working for the Fed, same crime, different trials. Picture what he said. And did I mention, and then he goes on to the next guy. And he just keeps fucking running through. And then in the last verse, he really goes in on Nas. Like, he really goes in. He starts off, Puffy's a little bribe, whatever. People know about Puffy, but that's like kind of like, obvious that Pac doesn't like him. The Nas thing, though, caught me off guard because I've never really heard him brought into it. This is the first I ever really heard Nas being brought into this whole East Coast, West Coast thing, from my knowledge. So it was kind of there. But, Lord, listen to me, God don't like ugly. It was written. That's a fantastic line, right? So God doesn't like ugly shit, like it was written. And it was written is what you would write to kind of like say in the Bible to this is God's proclamation. So God's proclamation is I don't like ugly shit, like it was written, the album. That's a powerful fucking line, all right? Yep. Hey, Nas, your whole damn style is bitten. You heard my melody. This sounds like Rakim. And he kind of does have a bit of a Rakim voice if you think about it.
Okay.
And he's also copying Tupac's style, he's saying with the gangster shit. So you heard my melody, and then he does the Rakim thing. That is some app fucking dissing. It's not even done. The rest of this verse goes at Nas. Read about my life in the papers, all my run-ins with the authorities, felonious capers. Now you want to live my life. So what's a Chaz or Nas that don't rhyme right? You've seen too many movies. Load him up against the wall, close his eyes. Since you lie, you die. Goodbye. Let the real hear the truth from me. What would you do if you was me? And it's just like powerful in my opinion. He comes at Nas really hard calling him a studio gangster.
Yep.
That's basically how this album ends. This album's last verse is Nas is fake. Then there's a bit of an outro.
The end.
And it's just powerful to me. And Pac's rhyming is, again, that aggressive style, that like fucking fire coming at you, all guns blazing with the lyrics. The going to war energy is just so clear and so present there. I think he kills this track. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a 4.5, and I really like it. And again, if we want to just kind of move into the album wrap up, it's another track that doesn't feature Outlawz, and it's another track that slaps it out the park. So if we were to kind of summarize the album, I think in a lot of ways the concepts that are explored on this album kind of make sense to why people might think Pac did a kill himself kind of 7-year theory thing.
Right.
The world's out to get him. There's also a theory at the beginning of, I think it's I don't remember which song it is. I think it's Hail Mary. But one of the tracks on this album that you can hear Suge Shot Me, like right at the very beginning of the song.
Oh.
If you listen really carefully, it's not necessarily confirmed. So anyway, you have all these lyrics about the whole world's out to get me. Everyone's trying to clip me. Everyone's trying to get me. But he justifies it. Like, I got clipped. I come from this environment. Literally, they shot me. Literally, these guys are now copying my image.
Yep.
The track's looking at religion, the track that looks at the jail situation, like the fucking way he apologizes to women as a way to explain like the hood. Like, there's so much on this album that is just conceptually brilliant, mixed with Pac's beautiful poetry and the way that he just chooses these magical words to put in the right order to say stuff in a way that like nobody else can. He's one of those guys that can just word shit in a way that like nobody else will. Nobody else can be that kind of poet. There's like generational poet shit, you know, like I've seen him compared, I think it was MC Lars compares him to Jack Kerouac, and I think that's like apt in the level of power, and because Jack Kerouac fucked up the game of his world where he was at, and I think Tupac did a very similar thing in his world. And let's be real.
And left, like, I think they both like leave like a huge like impact on like their world as well.
And they both died really young, and they both had a lot of things like that. They were just kind of part of counterculture revolutionary movements. Yeah. It's truly like that's the level of respect I have to put on Tupac's name. Like, he is, and this is crazy because you could probably watch me 2 years ago and be like, I don't fucking get it. No, I get it. Tupac is an incredible just artist. And when you look at what he did as a man, the way he lived and represented himself, like, you could maybe, if you want to be an asshole about it, question some things you don't understand about his lifestyle choices. I don't understand them, so it'd be stupid of me to question them.
Yep.
But I think that one thing is true. That guy is pure passion in a box, and he put that down on wax, and he put that out on records, and what he could do, the speed he could write this at, the precision in his flow. I don't know what Pac would have been like today, but I know that I would have loved to have heard Pac with today's production. That's what I can say.
That's fair, yeah.
Because that would be my biggest grievance with the project, is that some of the production is, I have to be in a mood to listen to it more than not. It isn't like that finessed Pro Tools kind of stuff. Like some of the productions in some of this era, though, just to go on production, is really great. Some of this production feels like weak ass Dre. And then everything else that Hurt 'Em Bad did was pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really like this one. I give it a
I don't know. Sorry, I gave the album an even 4.5. It just worked out like that, and I would definitely call this a classic. It's just fucking great. There's too many great songs on it.
Yeah. I mean, I give this a 4.41 on 5, so an 88%. And I think that, you know, there are definitely, like, I mean, there's not really like a bad song on here. There's songs that I like less, and there's songs that I like a lot more. So, you know, it's a great album. I think it definitely holds an impact. You know, if you think about the fact that it came out 2 months, I think, after he died, and you know what that meant to people. Like, people probably were crying when they bought it, and like, you know, like things like that, like how much it meant to them. And you know, like, you just have to like imagine like that kind of sense, and like the anticipation of like being able to listen to it, and then also probably like the questioning and like the flabbergastedness of everything. You know, like, is he really dead? Like, is he trying to tell us something? Is this like, what is this message? What does this mean? This is like immediately, you know, not immediately, but like quite soon after he passed away, and then like, all this sort of like conspiracy album comes out, and they're like, well, is he really dead? So I'm not surprised that, you know, there were a lot of people, and people didn't want to see him be dead. And, you know, probably so, like, they were just really hopeful that this was sort of a real conspiracy theory in that sense. And I think it did kind of, you know, and I do think a lot of like the messaging on here is still relevant, so it does kind of hold its own. Like, I think there are some like that, you know, maybe are less so in terms of like the West Coast, East Coast, you know, and all the issues with him and Dre, and like, you know, some of it is relevant to 1996 and not necessarily to 2020. But I do think a lot of his themes are still relevant, unfortunately, mostly. The negative one, not the negative themes, I suppose, like, you know, of black men being the target and being imprisoned and, you know, being the ones who are on drugs and like things like that, like those types of things, like his reality, you know, probably, you know, isn't too different today if you're in the same place that he was, you know what I mean? So I think that yeah, I think it's a classic.
Fair enough. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of our show, everyone. Thank you all for being here with us. Appreciate you all watching. Definitely let us know in the comments what you thought. Anything you want to say, we can totally respond to that. I mean, I'll definitely respond. Like the video if you did. Subscribe /follow /whatever if you're down to see more content like this. And looking forward to interacting with y'all in the future. Special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do.
Yeah.
You can support us too over on patreon.com/behindthatsuit. And then, yeah, I make music myself, so you can check that out and let me know what you think. And on that note, I think that is the end of our show. So live long and prosper, everybody.
Peace, guys.